Hi, everybody. It is Women Are Good Business, and today we are talking to Peju the Spark. Now, tell us about you and tell us about why helping people find their spark is so important to you.
Super. Thank you so much. It's great to be with you at Women Are Good Business. Who am I? I am a poetic speaker, for want of a better word. And I really believe I have a calling to heal the world one stage at a time through the power of poetry. And in terms of helping people find their spark, I really believe that there's something about you having walked that journey first. What does it look like for me to have found my voice? I liken it to when you're going on a journey, you can't help people navigate through a map if you've not navigated that journey by following a map first. You're not able to help people take the risks if you don't have stories of failing, of falling, and of flourishing. And I feel like I had to go on a very specific, very intentional journey of understanding what my calling was, what my purpose is, finding my voice from being a very shy child who loved writing, who loved expressing herself through words. What did it look like to be a bit more bold and a bit more bold, brave, and really seeing that safe spaces could become brave spaces, and just finding that journey for myself and saying, actually, if I can do this, I'm sure there are a lot of women like me who are crying out for an opportunity to find their voice, but who need somebody who's walked that journey and read that map and has stories to share.
And I've heard your work a number of occasions, and we were very lucky to have you come and do a bespoke poem, which was unbelievable at the launch of Women Are Good Business, the podcast. Talk to me a bit about that connection between kind of you speak, you write, you coach, you're a poet, you're an author. How does that work with also having being a businesswoman and turning that amazing creative gift into something which is actually commercially sustainable?
Super. That's a good question. And I feel like a lot of us are sitting on side hustles that are really lucrative. And I remember even when about 3 years ago, I started to think about doing this more as something that was not just on the side and in the corner, but something I could really face full on and do full time. And there were quite a few women who were like, no, you can't do poetry full time. And who does that? And get that idea out of your mind. It's a side thing, keep it as a side thing. I really believe, Sam, that the first person who needs to believe this is possible is yourself. And I really had to hold on to the fact that I feel like I've been gifted with something really special, something really significant that sits in the gap. So right now we're in a time where people are wearing very many hats. And so how do you leverage a skill like poetic speaking? Well, there are a lot of platforms that are looking for keynote speakers. But then I add something very unique and I say I can also perform something that speaks truth to power while serenading the senses. And there's so much of a thirst for new language. We are grappling with new ideas about life and we don't have the language for it. And so I even think corporates are looking for creatives to step onto stages and step into rooms and to say the same thing that they could have said, but in a way that is creative. So for me, it's observation is key, noticing is key, and that takes the power of pausing. It's not harried and hurried, it's noticing where these gaps that people are looking for somebody with my skill set, somebody with my skill of public speaking, somebody with my skill of self expression, somebody with my skill of the experience of having walked this journey. Who are they looking for? Well, they're looking for me, and I can tell them this is what I bring, and this is what I want to be paid for it. And I
And
believe it can
that's a
be.
key piece. And that's a key
Yes.
piece, isn't it? So I know a lot of women, people for some, a lot of businesses, we do a lot of stuff for free.
Yes.
So talk to us about that journey you had to go on to make sure you got paid, because I think that's a really interesting one for anybody who's doing something that they've got a passion for, they're brilliant at, but turning it from that side hustle to actually being able to pay the mortgage.
So I remember getting some really good coaching from some brilliant women. And one in particular was like, do not do anything for free. They're just going to walk all over you. They're going to expect you'll always do that. And I remember speaking to my husband, who's also a very seasoned speaker. He's a TEDx speaker, he's an author as well. And I was regurgitating this realization and reflection of I'm never doing anything for free. And I remember him saying, well, in his journey, he's done a couple of gigs for free, and that has opened doors that he didn't even think were possible. And so it is a balance. I feel like once you understand your value and you understand what you bring, and you are growing in the confidence of asking for what you know you are worth, there's also the other side of the coin where you can also choose to be a blessing to certain spaces that actually would love to pay you what you're asking for, recognize your value, but at that point are like, we love what you do, we just can't give you what you're asking for. I really believe in those moments, it's, am I going to go for shutting down those doors, or could those doors be even avenues that help to grow visibility? So it definitely takes a semblance of wisdom and discernment to know these guys are not just out to take something for nothing. They value what I bring, and I'm gonna give back. There's something really special about giving back and not always wanting to monetize everything. I feel like that is exhausting, and the world doesn't need to work like that.
Yeah, it's that balance, isn't it? It's knowing when to start. You know, I do a little bit of speaking, and I've learned, a great friend of mine who's also a coach said, just the first question is, what's the budget for your speakers?
Exactly.
Like a really straightforward question. And it took me a long time to get used to being able to feel comfortable asking that question. And I had no problem asking for money for work that I did. But when it came to speaking, I was like, and I've had to get over it. And 9 times out of 10, they'll say budget is this, or we can pay your travel or whatever. So there's definitely a balance, isn't it? And as you say, sometimes the ones that you don't get paid for, you get paid very little for, can open big doors, right? Because they're your people.
Definitely. Yeah, that's it. You've said it. And it's understanding that the world can be so beautiful in the way it gifts back to you. When you're gifting something, you might not get the gift back in the same way you've given it, but it always comes back to bless you. And I think that is the beauty and the curiosity of being available to do things that are not always about being paid for them, even though
Yeah.
being paid is important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a balance.
Let's put that in there, yes.
I want to take you back a little bit. Something you said right at the beginning really struck me, because you are a performance poet and you've got this, I mean, you have an amazing voice, which I think really helps. But you said at the beginning that you were shy, so you used to write a lot. Can you tell me, how did you go from that little shy girl to standing on massive stages and doing something that I think most people can't do, which is that performance piece? Because that must have been quite a journey.
It was a journey. And like I said, I feel like journaling as a teenager was my first stage. And sometimes we want to be, the whole essence of my brand, Peju the Spark, is we don't need a fire to start. All we need is a spark. It takes only a spark to set the world on fire. And a lot of people are waiting until I feel the fire, I'm not going to do anything. Sometimes you just need that little spark. And so for me, it was seeing the pages of my journals were my first stage. How did I show up to the stages of the pages? What was being reflected back to me? Because I did feel like I was getting feedback from the pages of my journal. And then the next stage became the mirror. Because sometimes people, when I step off stage, people are like, how did you do that? And I'm like, I've done that 10 times in front of the mirror. So the mirror as well gives me the feedback. The preparation in front of the mirror for me is also a stage. And I really feel like there's a principle called the Michael Jordan principle that my husband loves using with our children when they're preparing for exams or for something big. He says to them, the Michael Jordan principle is do in the preparation as well as you want to do in the real thing. So for me, the preparation is how am I going to show up? Where am I going to increase and decrease and put the intonation and pause and all of that. And so that journey has really helped me to hone the skill. And if I see the pages of my journal and the mirror in my living room as the first and second stage, standing in front of the actual stage becomes not as daunting because I've done it first and I've received the feedback first from the crucial spaces. And I think as well, it's learning that the people in the audience are actually not there to judge. A lot of them are there to receive. And when I make it less about how am I looking and is my makeup all set and what about my jewelry and the accessories right, when it becomes I'm actually gifting people with something special, then it's less about me. And then it just, there's a flow, and the audience are ready to receive, and I'm ready to give, and they're ready to give, and I'm ready to receive. And it just becomes this beautiful exchange.
I think that prep piece is so important, right? And it applies to pretty much everything in life, right? Which is, there's an addition there, I can't remember who it is, but a famous sports person, if someone said, oh, you're really lucky. And he turned around and went, it's amazing how much luckier I get the more I practice.
There you go. That's it. It's so true. The preparation stage for me has gifted me with so much insight and so much intel that by the time I step up on stage, it's not as scary. I still feel the butterflies. I do because, and I feel like the butterflies are right to feel for me because it's reminding me that I'm not taking that stage for granted. It's a different stage. People are actually paying me to be there. They've invested in me. The audience are ready. They're waiting. They're excited, on bated breath, and I don't want to disappoint. So the butterflies are right for me to have, but also then it becomes less about me and it becomes more about there's a gift and a beautiful exchange as well.
Yeah, I love that. So if you look back to when you first started out, maybe before you got to that point, you're like, I can actually make this my living, my career. What, if you could go back and speak to her, what do you wish you'd known then that you know now?
Oh, I love speaking to young women and women who are starting something new, women who are on the cusp of transition. And I feel like so many women already have everything they need. They just want to be reminded of that. So I would say to the younger Peju, you already have everything you need. I was one of those people waiting to start with the fire. Oh, I need this. Okay, but I need a bit more of that. Oh, I need a little bit more of this. And it was procrastination was a form of self-protection. It really was. But it came across like, no, I'm just getting ready. I'm just putting things in place. I was afraid and I was too scared to just call it what it was. I'm self-protecting. And so when people were saying, Peju, you need to go for it. It's time to write that book. It's time to really take this seriously. I was like, no, I'm just putting things in place. I was afraid of judgment. I was afraid of putting my voice out there with people I didn't know. I was like, but I know you guys, family, friends, my network, I trust you. It was a scary thing. So I would say to the younger Peju, and I would say to young women and to women on the cusp of transition, you already have everything you need to start. Procrastination is self-preservation. And right now, the world needs more people who are taking that next brave step.
Yeah. And what's the worst that can happen, right? Is it doesn't work and you do something else.
Exactly. And you learn from it. So,
Yeah.
there was a lady I was performing at an event on Friday, and she talked about a quote from Nelson Mandela, who said, I either win or I learn.
Yeah. Brilliant. I'm getting so many great quotes that we're going to be able to share out of this session. So I have one final question, which is about what's next? What's your big ambition? What page or stage, what is it that is the big thing you want to do next?
I love that. And Creatives and poets are known to be big dreamers. So I am working on my second book right now. So the first one, a poet, you can see it at the back, a poetic Odyssey of Proclamations, is all about using your language and your words to reshape your reality. And it was born from this sense of just the negativity of the way we speak and the way we hold space for ourselves as women. There's so much self put down with our language without realizing it becomes normalized. And so the book was all about pause and reshape your language about yourself and others with wisdom, with hope, and with kindness. And the other book is for young women. So obviously, I've spoken and performed and coached older women. And now I'm backtracking to say, who are those girls? Who are those young women who are becoming these women that I'm speaking to and working with? I want to start speaking to that younger audience. So the book is all about poetry and prose and language for young women who are navigating a wilderness in the world right now. And I want to speak some life into that.
What an amazing ambition. I absolutely love that. And you can put me on the list for your new book when it's out. We'll make sure we'll share it with some of the younger women. I can't be called a younger woman anymore, I don't think, but I've definitely got younger women in my life who would benefit. So thank you so much for joining us on Women Are Good Business today and taking us through your whistle-stop tour through your story and sharing your wisdom, and keep being fabulous.
Thank you, Sam. It was a pleasure being with you. Women are good business. Don't forget.